visual style that I have to, that has to represent me, that I have to keep repeating. So it gives me a lot of freedom to approach everything as a writer, and then use the art as another tool, you know, in the arsenal of writing. Just like you might say as a writer, is this story best told in first person or third person? I can now think, is this story best told in you know, watercolor or acrylic or collage or pen and ink, or what color is right for it, or what is the you know, the right visual tone and pace and panel layout? How fast should the story be read? You know, via the hierarchy of the panels on the page. You know, I can incorporate found objects. I could do it, you know, via photography. So once I sort of found that approach for myself in the medium of comics, it kind of clicked for me, because then I felt like anything was possible in this medium. I felt like it's such a fertile medium in which anything can happen, and it's a very intimate medium also. You know, I guess film is a kind of relative to comics and graphic novels, but it's a different experience. Usually, when you're going to see a film, you know, it's often like this: lots of people coming to an event together and watching something as it unfolds at a specific, you know, time rate, you know, 24 frames per second. But in comics, you have to, when you're creating them, you're very considerate that the reader is, you know, manually turning the page. So you're thinking about how to construct a page psychologically to lead their eye in a certain order and have their eye rest on certain panels for certain periods of time. And you're kind of constructing and composing the panels, probably like sheet music in a way. You're kind of making, you know, certain points and then certain crescendos and certain beats that are happening that way. And everybody kind of experiences it in an intimate and different way. And often you might have something that you showed on one panel that they're not exactly sure what it means, but then after they turn the page and they see that was a foreshadowing of something else, then they can actually physically turn it back and look at it as well. So it's this really intimate experience between, you know, the reader and the creator of the book, because everybody kind of reads it in a different way, and they read it in their own time frame. You know, unlike film, which, you know, is given to you in a situation like this with lots of people at the same time. And unlike film, in comics, words take up physical space. So you have to be very considerate of the image to text ratio that's happening on the page. And I find that in those walls of what you might consider the limitations of the medium is often when some really interesting ideas and epiphanies can happen when you try to it's just problem solving, really, trying to consider how to make that kind of thing work. You know, sometimes, you know, when I'm writing, I'll write a full script, and I'll tend to have quite a bit of dialogue in there. And then after you draw it, you realize visually, you know, via the, you know, body language and facial expressions and things that are happening in the artwork, sometimes you don't need all of what you've originally written. And so then when I'm lettering it, I'm often faced with the situation of, you know, there's all these words that I'm intending to letter, you know, for all of these pages, but once you see it with the art, sometimes it's just too much lettering on it. So you have to find either creative problem-solving ways to integrate the lettering to make it a part of the artwork, or you have to find ways to, you know, or you cut it out if it doesn't need it. So I probably cut about half of my text every time I'm lettering. Like with something like Kabuki, where I do everything, where I'm writing it, doing the artwork, and do the lettering. Each of those processes is another opportunity to kind of improve something and edit it and finesse it to a certain degree. And most of the time, that finessing comes in the form of cutting things out, eliminating extra information so that the correct information that you want to give comes across most clearly.